What is good? What is good? Fancy Matt, how are we feeling, boys?
Hello.
What's going on?
Matt's feeling amazing on this fine Tuesday night.
No, sir.
This podcast, just like we said last week, is going to be uploaded on Wednesday. So happy Wednesday to you guys. Happy Hump Day. Week 13, episode 40. Last week we had 11 consensus picks. We went 8-3. Lots more football to talk this week, though. We have 3 Thanksgiving games, 1 Black Friday game, and then the rest games on Sunday, and of course the Monday Night Football game. I do always look forward to these weeks just because it's like we have football, more football on Thursday. Debatable because it's Cowboys Giants, but we do have more football on Thursday. And then you wake up on Friday, you have another game just randomly on Black Friday. So that's like kind of a cool addition. Prime Video, by the way, on Black Friday. But lots more football this week than there was last week. Obviously, only 13 games last week. So lots to talk about, especially into our picks. So not too many fun facts that I have for you guys, but there is one trending topic going around, and there's a trend here. Okay, there was 3 big running backs that got signed to different teams this offseason. Barkley, Henry, and Josh Jacobs. Which, funny enough, for those of you that watch every single episode, shout out to you guys. You guys are real goats. We all did a TikTok and a questionnaire of which new running back to a new team was going to have the biggest impact to their team. I, of course, said Barkley. Matt, you, of course, said Derrick Henry.
Yep.
And Fancy, you said Josh Jacobs. And so those 3 are the headline this week. A lot of talk about how important running backs are to teams. Those 3 guys obviously signed to a new team. Their old teams this season have combined for a 7-26 record without them. So it goes to show you that it is worth signing your franchise running back. Obviously, the Eagles are very happy to have Saquon Barkley, and so is Derrick Henry with the Baltimore Ravens. And as an owner, Fancy, you were very happy with Josh Jacobs being in Green Bay.
Oh yeah.
So will this be the start, was my question, to seeing teams give running backs the money? Because I told you guys beforehand with Barkley, now that he's not afraid of being hurt, he's verbally said it. I'm not afraid of being hurt. I got paid. I don't care. I'm going to make the big time plays, the flashy plays, the whatever plays. And this past weekend, he put up 302. So
It's pretty flashy.
yeah, it's pretty flashy, especially when you're number 8 or number 9 on the all-time rushing yards in a single game record.
Yeah.
Against a pretty good defense, by the way. So, if you are those teams, I try to think of some teams that came to mind that maybe are not doing well, like record-wise, that have a running back that's close to a contract, whatever, and like nothing crazy shot out at me. But like, if you are that team, are you more willing to now like give them more money than when you see a team like New York Giants who decided to pay their quarterback who now they just cut? Like,
Yeah.
are you paying your running back now?
I mean, what I think about with this is what we've seen this season, particularly, is the amount of second string quarterbacks that have had to start for other teams, and the ability to play the game through the air has changed. So relying on at least a decent running back has been crucial, and then having a great running back scheme, like the Lions have, is just, it's like that will carry you through the hard times while you're waiting for your starter to get back in there, while you're waiting to come up with a better cohesion of your backup to your wide receiver 1 and 2.
Right.
So definitely, that it's definitely put a strain where people didn't realize that like they were going to have that.
Yeah, absolutely. There was two takes that I kept reading up on, and one of them was kind of based off what you just said. Was like you kind of have the foundation when you're running an offense. The
Mhm.
offensive line is like the concrete, the set in stone. Like you need to have one, otherwise things just aren't going to go very well. And then that next up wasn't a quarterback; it was a running back,
Yeah.
because that running back is going to get half of the snaps a game. On a normal offense, you typically 54% pass, 46, whatever, right? So
Yeah.
you're giving the ball off almost half the time. So you want to have a guy that you trust in there. And then the next, obviously, quarterback and then wide receivers. So it was interesting to see that narrative. But then also in talks of Barkley, Henry, and Jacobs, those guys were great running backs. No one denied that. It was just a simple fact that those teams that let them go even if they had them, their records probably wouldn't be any better. And I was like, I see that too. Like, you know what I mean? It's like fancy. We talked about it pre-podcast, and we're gonna get into this, but like with teams tanking, it's like even if they get the number one pick, it's like how much is it really gonna change their team? You know, so it's like
Yeah.
even if you kept that running back for the Raiders and the Titans and the Giants, it's like would your season actually be better, or would you just
Yeah.
have, like maybe one or two more wins because of it?
Right.
So
Yeah.
it was an interesting take on it.
To me, for the running backs, like I feel like when it was like Le'Veon Bell, like in that holdout period, that the owners just decided if we all come together and we don't pay running backs, like we can get away with it type of thing.
Exactly.
And it's because I was just looking at the stat. If you go back to Barry Sanders' contracts when they paid him in the 90s, the percentage of the cap hit, and I don't remember off the top of my head, but it was something like 18 to 20% of the cap hit. Like it was massive money for a running back for the team. Then you shift ahead another 15, 20 years to Adrian Peterson in when he got paid in his cap hit. And then you compare that to Saquon right now, which is like 5% of the cap. Like it's insane.
The market just changed with the quarterbacks. The quarterbacks are just getting paid so much
it's
money.
insane that they can get away with paying them that little money, and you're seeing how much success they can have for a team, and that's all their value is right now, unfortunately.
Because my mind went straight to, the Jets are eventually going to have to make a decision about Breece Hall. I think we all can agree Breece Hall is one of the most explosive running backs in the NFL. It's like, you're 3-8. You're not going to have Rodgers next season. Your team's falling apart. It's like, are you going to dump money into that when you have Braylon Allen, looking good, youngest player in the NFL at the moment? It's like for the Jets, like, do you sign him? You know what I mean? Like if you're Jacksonville, like do you extend Travis Etienne? You know what I mean? Like there's some running backs that are younger that do they deserve a paycheck? Like I don't know. You know what I mean? It's kind of just I don't know. So it's an interesting like foundation type question of like we saw the Giants with Barkley at the forefront for how long? And they just didn't do anything with him. So it's like the talent's obviously there. It's just when you're missing A, B, C, D, and E, it's like having that running back's just not going to do anything for you. It's like
I think all the Eagles, the Ravens, and the Packers all kind of scored early on this like soon to be running back boom because it's like we had to you have to sign these guys for some money. But what they didn't have to do was give a shitload of picks. And that's where it's do they keep Breece Hall or ETN? It's like maybe not, but not only are whoever's going to get him is going to owe him something like a good check, but we're going to want some picks. And so like the value has gone up for the team as well, even if they do get rid of this player or choose not to re-sign them, I should say, is it's like now like there's picks coming along in it besides just like no, you go get your 200 million somewhere else.
If they want to trade them, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, that's the difference when it comes to free agency and you're making these awesome
like
signings.
The Jets for 3-8, it's like you don't want to sign them, but you don't want to lose them because then you just lost on the value. So now it's like, and at the same time,
that's when the franchise tags comes in.
I don't know. Yeah, it's a weird, it's like, man, I guess it is like franchise based with how they run their offense and everything else, but it's just a messy situation for obviously the Giants. I can't even imagine the Giants just seeing Barkley just thrive, and you picked Daniel Jones over him, and now you guys cut him. It's like I just couldn't imagine. I just literally couldn't even.
And I love that they have the cameras rolling because they were doing the hard knocks and they were doing the.
I'm gonna have nightmares if we let Barkley walk and he signs.
Yeah,
us, he does.
You literally see their conversations of what if and
to see the Jets being the dumpster fire they are, and still be worse than that. It's like fuck. It's like, what's that like to like walk down the street, see a Jets hat, you're wearing a Giants hat, and you're just like,
you're both fucked. It's like you can't even,
it's two clowns from a different circus,
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's just gosh.
And then something fun and interesting to get into before we get into our game picks. Obviously, when they keep track of the standings, they also give you a percentage chance of teams making playoffs, team making winning the division, et cetera, et cetera. Buffalo, 99.9% chance of winning the division. So that's something that we all
So you're saying there's a chance.
we all are going to be wrong on
We
our
missed
Dolphins,
out on that one.
on
Yep.
our Dolphins pick. Dolphins only have a 16% chance of making the playoffs. But what's interesting here, this one is the one that caught my eye in terms of what I wanted to discuss, is Pittsburgh's in the lead of the AFC North still. They only have a 45% chance in the analytics to win the division, and the Ravens have a 54% chance, even though they are not in the lead at the moment, and the Steelers did just beat the Ravens. It's like that is an interesting take. They're both Ravens 99.9% chance to make the postseason. Steelers 99.7%. So they're both going to make the playoffs. Houston 94% to win the division. I mean, the only team that's coming close is Indy there, and then obviously Kansas City. But out of the AFC West, the AFC West, or out of the AFC, I meant the AFC West is the most likely team to have 3 teams come out of it, with Kansas City being 99.9%, the Chargers being 97%, and then the Denver Broncos being 68% to make the playoffs.
Yeah, Broncos coming alive.
Broncos are coming alive. Bo Nixon, dude, Bo Zempic, Bo Cocaine, Bo. I mean, there's tons of nicknames out there for him now.
Yeah.
And then obviously Philly, 99.9% chance, 95% chance in the division to win the division. So just in that week of Philly beating them on that Thursday night game, and then the Commanders losing to the Cowboys the next week, back-to-back divisional losses for them, it dropped their percentage of winning the division to 4%. So they still 71% chance to make the playoffs, but still that was definitely a big hit for them in terms of during the middle of the season. I'm going to skip over the NFC North. I'll get back to that because that's the one I want to talk about the most. But Atlanta, 62% chance to win the division. So that division's the second one up for grabs in the NFC and in the NFL, because Tampa Bay's at 34%, and then New Orleans only has a 4% chance to win the division. But Atlanta's 66% to make the postseason, where Tampa Bay's only got a 47% chance. So the odds are not in Tampa Bay's favor at 5-6. But the most competitive division in football, the NFC West, in terms of their records. I mean, I've never seen something so every team is under 50%. So it's kind of really interesting in terms of
That's
not only under 50% to win the division, but under 50% to make the playoffs. That's kind of really crazy to see. So they have Seattle at 40.4%, and they have the Arizona Cardinals at 39.4%. But the Rams only have an 8% chance in their analytics, and then San Francisco 49ers at 12%. So those numbers are pretty interesting. Like,
let's not forget who predicted the Niners' downfall.
Ronnie.
Motherfucking Ronnie.
Motherfucking Ronnie.
Well, his brother plays for the Rams, so
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
you know.
But to go back up to the NFC North, Matt, you'll love to hear this number. The Lions have almost an 80% chance at winning the division. You're a lock for the playoffs, obviously. Minnesota, 98% to make the playoffs, and Green Bay, 96.5% to make the playoffs. And for my Bears fans out there, you guys have less than 1% chance of making the playoffs. So Matt, you guys almost have that division locked down, which would be
trying to look at my
really cool.
predictions real quick.
Yeah, you guys.
So the Lions have won the first round of divisional play, right? Like they did beat the Vikings, they did beat the Bears, and they beat the Packers.
They've only played 2 divisional games, and they're 2-0. So they haven't played the Vikings yet.
Oh, I don't know what. I guess because we played the Vikings already.
We played. We still have to play the Bears twice.
Bears will be The Bears will be on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So then they'll make the divisional run. But they're 2-0 in division, 6-1 in conference, and then out of conference they're 4-0, because obviously the in conference loss was to Tampa, so they did lose to an NFC team. But other than that, they're on pace. I mean, you guys are projected to have 14 wins on the year. You guys are projected to be 14-3 as this goes right now. And the Vikings, it's crazy because the Vikings and Green Bay are both projected at 12 wins as well. So it's like we might have a division where there's 14 wins, 12 wins, and 12 wins. That's like,
and 4 wins.
They're projected at 6.
So it's not going to be the year the Giants got in at God, what was that? Was it like 8 and 9 or something?
No, you guys are gonna have 3 teams make the postseason, and all 3 teams are gonna have double digits.
Yeah,
It's going to be a very valid, which is gonna be fun because we'll get into playoff talks here within a couple weeks, which we always have a lot of fun when
Oh
it gets
yeah.
to the playoff talks.
Yep.
Because the playoff picture, it changes every single time we look at it every week, right?
All the what ifs, like how to get in.
Yes,
Like it
yes.
looks like that dude that's
Well,
like
last
that
year,
Always
Eagles
Sunny in
were the
Philadelphia
one.
you're talking
Yeah,
about.
Eagles were at the 1, and then all of a sudden they dropped out, and the Cowboys won the division, and the Eagles dropped because of the Eagles just started shit in the bed. So
Yeah.
it like, kept moving so much, and then Tampa snuck in, and it was just like all this crazy stuff. But what we're gonna see with you guys is there's probably going to be a first round matchup in the NFC North. Like
Oh, yeah.
obviously it won't be you, Matt, you'll buy, but there's a good chance that we see like a Vikings Green Bay clash
very,
right off
very
the rip.
true.
So that's going to be really interesting to look out for.
I'll take that. I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, it'd be fun. But go into this week, we have 16 games. Last week we went, like I said earlier, we went 8-3 out of our 11 consensus picks. So we only had 2, and then Matt, you were against us on that. So we all split because Seattle did beat the 49ers, but the Ravens did beat the Chargers, and those were the only 2 games that we disagreed on. So that puts us all at 9-4 in the week. So no one gained or lost any points. Matt, you're 114-65. I'm 112-67. And Fancy, you're 110-69. Giggity.
I did it on purpose because of the 69.
Did you?
Yeah.
Nice.
So you're gonna win
Great.
out from here just to keep it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
prepared.
Yeah. So shocker this week, out of the 16 games, I believe, Matt, I said we have 14 of the same.
Yep.
So there's only going to be one slide where we are against each other, and it's Fancy one time and me one time. No spoilers yet. So Matt, you were with the pack most of the way through, which gives you a lot of confidence because that means, with a 67.7% chance, I think you like to be with another person than against,
Sure.
this line. So shocker right here. We all have the same picks on the Thanksgiving and the Black Friday games. Lions versus the Bears. Literally nothing to talk about. I know, Matt, you want to get into it, but there's literally nothing to talk about. The Bears are absolute trash.
So the
And,
only thing I'll talk about is, if you listen to our trivia from last year, we did Turkey Day trivia. We talked about who is the winningest team on Thanksgiving, and it's the Lions.
they're also the losingest team.
And then we also went into they also have the most losses at 45 losses. So I don't think this is the one that continues the loss column.
No,
for the
I don't
Lions.
either. Especially in Detroit, they're gonna want that turkey leg. And then
Oh yeah,
the Cowboys,
the John Madden turducken, right?
dude, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
And then the Cowboys at home on Thanksgiving as well. Tommy DeVito questionable, which I mean, Matt, you kind of mentioned. I think the team would be better with Drew Lock. I don't know. I think I read a thing like their coach, remind me of his name,
Dable.
He's trying to save his job because Tommy DeVito's 3-3 with the Giants. Now he's 3-4. So he's kind of just going with the best record to like show, hey, it's not my fault, whatever type of thing, rather than trying out a new quarterback in a new system. But Giants 2-9 for a reason. Malik Neighbors not happy. Dable is on the hot seat. I mean, like the Cowboys are still trying to win this season out for some reason. I really don't know why. But they are. So they're at home. They're gonna want to win. I'm sure the Sun will block a pass or something at some point because it's
now
at 3:30 for them.
It's not a night game, so we're gonna see if they
The
actually.
Sun's gonna be out in Dallas at
curtains or not.
3:30 their time. Yep, absolutely.
What's both of those head coaches could be fighting for their job though.
Yeah.
So we might end up seeing potentially a decent game.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Of
I mean,
two
I hope
backup
so, 'cause
quarterbacks.
everyone's gonna be at home, and I mean, who wants to be stuck like in conversation with
Look at the
family?
time it is. That's post dinner. That is nap time. That's why
that's
they got this
that is
slot.
nap time for sure.
Post-
Everybody
dinner at
wanted to watch the
3:30?
Lions win, and then they're gonna go pass out, and then get ready for like the
Well,
turkey
it's good for
sandwiches
the
at
Bears
night.
then. The Bears fans, at least they can see their team lose while they're eating, and then they're gonna be so mad they're gonna go to bed.
They're already gonna be fighting with their in-laws and
Yeah.
their aunts and their
Yeah.
new baby daddies, all that stuff.
Oh,
They're gonna be half case deep, maybe some Malarts or whatever it is.
Oh,
yeah. Oh
Jesus.
gosh. Yeah. And then to me, honestly, not in terms of like, I just think competitiveness with the team, the talents. I think it's the best game on Thanksgiving, which will be nice, Fancy, because like you said, we get to see the Bears just like get obliterated by the Lions. The Lions are gonna put up 80 touchdowns. Goff's not gonna throw an incompletion. He's gonna have 6 touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown's gonna have a passing touchdown. Montgomery's gonna have 2. Gibbs is gonna have 3. It's gonna be crazy. We're gonna take a nap after all that good Thanksgiving food, which we all get to just not watch the Cowboys play, which is great.
Just
Hopefully,
listen
when we
to
wake
it.
up from our naps, we see the Cowboys lose. That'd be even better. And
Oh my
then
God,
we get to
missed field goal.
watch a good football game at night. Packers against the Miami Dolphins. So for me, because this is a game we can actually talk about and debate and whatever else. I know we all took the Packers, but at the same time, I don't know if you guys have seen the stats on Tua since he came back in that first week since he's been back from his concussion, but he has been lights out. Like 12 touchdowns, 1 interception, like over 1,000 yards. Like he's been absolutely torching defenses, and he's played some really good defenses. So it should be a good game for me. Even if it's not too crazy cold, what stood out for me is the fact that Tua's gonna have to go play somewhere that's gonna be colder than Miami, and we all know the stats with Tua in the cold. And we talked about it last week, Fancy. Last week, Green Bay beating the 49ers. Obviously, we didn't know that Purdy was going to be out in that matchup, but it's one of those things where that was the game for Green Bay where Jordan Love and the Packers are going to get in a groove. They beat a competitive team, and now at home they're just not going to lose for the rest of the year. That's how I view that.
That's how you get everything back on track.
Absolutely. And we talked about it, and I think that just piles off of that, and then add on Tua in the cold. I don't see how Miami wins that matchup.
And looking at Miami, and try not to be disrespectful to them, but I mean their wins. Once again, we still have to talk about, can they beat an over 500 team? And they can't. They have beat the Patriots, the Raiders, the Rams, the Patriots again, and the Jags.
Yeah. So the only team that's respectable on there is the Rams.
Yeah.
They've been fluctuating between over and under 500, and they're still a good team. But every other team on there is competing for the number 1 pick.
And even their losses, Titans, Colts. It's like, I know, and one of those wasn't. Tua was out for a little bit of that. I'm not going to act like it's not, but the Packers defense is a turnover machine.
Yeah,
they're pretty good. Not just
11 picks. Yeah, 11 picks.
But forced fumbles and everything else, and that means getting to the quarterback. And if you get to Tua, he might not even play the full quarter.
Yeah, he might even play. Yeah,
that might be it. I mean, it really might be. And so, yeah, that's my only reason why I've ever picked against the Dolphins this season, is because it just takes one hit.
Yeah, and the offense doesn't look the same. Like, I know you said they are starting to, when he came back,
Tua's heating up, but Hill and Waddle. I mean, Waddle had a great week last week, but Tyreek Hill has been irrelevant this year.
Yeah, and when we saw, obviously we saw Mostert, which he's not doing anything this year. We saw now HN coming into his own, but they're going weird places. Like, we're seeing the emergence of Jonnu Smith, and whereas they would not go to their tight end last year at all, right? Because they didn't need to. Because you had Tyreek running from every spot possible, running through the slot, running from the backfield, whatever. So now they're finding different ways maybe to be productive with Jonnu Smith. And then HN is looking amazing, obviously still, like we thought he would. But yeah, I think I'm right there with you in the fact that Green Bay's defense, if anybody's going to shut him down, it's Green Bay.
I'm not clear if Jair Alexander is back this week or not.
Yeah.
He didn't play Sunday. This is a short week. I'm not sure that he will be there or suited up to play on Thursday.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten word from that yet.
Even Matt mentioned Montgomery's shoulder too. And I'm just like, those guys, when it's Thanksgiving, you don't get too many times in your career to play on Thanksgiving. Like, you really don't. So it's just like they just give me a shot. You know what I mean? Give me a shot and let me go out there and get it done. Because now you're gonna have a longer break, right? Because you're gonna have a longer break playing on a Sunday. You'll be all right. And then Black Friday, kind of a shitty Black Friday game. I don't even know if I will be watching it because I might be working. But Chiefs Raiders. I mean, what are we doing? This will be the one. This will be the one game of the Raiders get an upset win. I mean, they will. Gardner Minshew is out for the year now, and they're going to be starting Aiden O'Connell. If he's even ready to go, I don't know who their third even would be. If Matt, maybe I have no idea. But Aiden O'Connell is questionable because he was out on the IR last week.
No, I think I was talking about last week. It was Ritter that they had picked up.
That's right.
Signed.
Ritter did come in. Yes, he did come in. But this week they announced Aiden O'Connell.
Well, I know, but is his thumb going to hold up? Is the problem? So
Yeah. So he'll come back and all of a sudden he'll look like Tom Brady against the Chiefs because the Chiefs almost dropped one against the Panthers. The Chiefs are slipping
Yeah.
up. This
That
is what
was
they did
bad last week. So
Yeah.
Hey, the
This is
Chiefs
what they-
slipped up, but that was like the best Panthers we've seen since
Yes.
Cam Newton went to the Super Bowl.
Bryce Young looked great. He really did.
Everybody felt like just they all got the same
Adam
piece of
Thielen
paper
back,
to read
man.
from.
Adam
Oh
Thielen
my
back.
god!
Yeah.
And that
So,
uniform was a
Yeah.
beautiful.
it'll still look nice, even with it being that matchup. At least we have football on a Friday. You know what I mean? Like at least, and then Saturday we got college football, and then Sunday it'll be great. It'll just be like the beginning of the
Yeah,
season when
just
we
6
had
months from now, we're gonna be like, I wish I was watching the fucking Titans
Chiefs
and the
Raiders. Yeah, exactly.
Panthers.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like I've prayed again.
This will be the only page out of the 4 where we actually have our disagreements.
Gotcha.
Woo!
But the Chargers
Right.
Falcons, we all picked the Chargers. The Chargers did just drop the game against the Ravens last night for us, but 2 nights ago for you guys that are listening. But I really do think the Chargers they kept up pretty well. There was that one big play. If you guys watched the game, Justice Hill had the 51-yard touchdown. It kind of just got the game out of reach. It's like if that play doesn't happen, they get him to punt it and whatever else. They're still within that one possession game. But it's a younger team. We saw Quentin Johnson. I'll talk about him more when we get to our DK lineups. But I mean, it's like
I'm
you
ready for
couldn't catch a
that.
cold. Evidently, Matt caught it and not him because he dropped every single pass that went to him. And I mean, Herbert was just throwing it on the money.
targets,
Yeah, Herbert
5
was just throwing it
targets,
on the
and-
money.
Everybody catches
And
in
so-
Michigan.
That was my thing. That's the one take that I got out of it was Herbert looked good. Herbert looked very good in that game, and that loss does not reflect on them. I will say the one concern I do have, even though I am sticking with the Chargers, because I saw what the Denver Broncos defense did to the Falcons, and the Falcons looked just clueless against a really good defense. And the Chargers give me that same vibe of the Denver Broncos defense: low scoring, very physical, good secondary. So that's where like I'm leaning towards that is the Chargers defense being just going to be better than the Atlanta Falcons offense.
To me, it's not fair. You've got a team coming off a Monday night game, and then a team that had a bye week. So someone that has a day less rest, and then someone that's had the whole
Yeah.
week off, like that.
Which
To me, that's
be
not.
worse for you. Like when you're just sitting around and like coming off of a couple really tough losses for Atlanta, it's like
And a holiday,
oh,
carb
load.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, this is just a prime example. I mean, Justin Herbert's younger. Everybody has been talking his hype. He's got a coach now. Hopefully, we get a few seasons to really build up around him and get him the support that he needs to be the player he's been projected to be since he's been drafted. But more overall, like Kirk Cousins either has a 500-yard Matt Ryan celebration game, or he's Kirk Suckins.
I mean, same thing with
There-
Matt
there's
Ryan.
no-
he replaced
you're
Matt
right.
Ryan perfectly.
There is no
like
in
I mean, if you
between.
think about it, he really did. Like
Yeah.
it's like, oh, here's 600 yards. Oh shit, we have a game. Here's 100 yards. It's like
yeah.
there's
We need this.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, absolutely. It's like we're gonna and that's
they
and
keep
even
you
then,
they keep you stringed along just enough to like have you tune in because it's like this could be a record breaking game. Like
well, and here's the thing: is like Young Wei Koo has been missing. He was one of the most steady
yeah,
kickers.
Matt's
And-
trivia last week.
Yeah, he's been falling off, and so I'm like, okay, so if Kirk Cousins doesn't perform well, and your kicker is not hitting like he was, it's like,
Yeah, and the Chargers will keep them to a pretty low. Like they're gonna have to make some field goals because it's like
yeah,
the Chargers are not gonna let up.
they're not giving up yards exactly. So you're gonna need that, and as far as you got a mobile quarterback and an immobile quarterback,
Yeah.
10-year age gap, I think, maybe even a hair more. It's
I
like
think
good
it's 10.
grief.
I actually think it's 10 on the dot. I think
Yeah, so-
Cousins is 36 or 35, and I think Herbert's 26.
yeah. So it's,
yeah.
I mean, that's just and then the coaching staff.
Yeah,
is
Atlanta has more.
obviously-
Atlanta definitely has more talent in terms of Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson, whatever else. But I mean, Herbert. I mean, man, Ladd McConkey's really starting to come around as a great. We talk about like a Wes Welker, Julian Edelman. He's been so consistent. I love watching him play. And then Matt, you mentioned Jonnu Smith really having okay, so Jonnu Smith had a good year last year too. People just forget about that. He was with the Atlanta Falcons, and they used him more than Kyle Pitts. And even before then, Jonnu Smith was really good on the Tennessee Titans. After the Delaney Walker era. But Will Disley, I mean, really coming into form. He had a good year with Seattle, tore his ACL, and then since then they kind of just use him as a blocking tight end. But not only has he been great for the run or the blocking game for the Chargers in the run game, but he's been great as a safety valve for Herbert. But my only concern is just the J.K. Dobbins. When J.K. Dobbins left that game, that was my biggest concern. But I
Yeah.
still go with the Chargers defense in this game for sure.
Yep.
Then the Steelers Bengals. All of us took the Bengals. I think we got burnt out on the Bengals the last like 2 weeks, but we still just keep stringing along with them.
I know.
But
I thought maybe you'd stick with the Steelers, but
I debated it, but to me, I know we've already said it. Like, this is probably my last week of saying this for the Bengals, but like, this is their season. Like, this is it. Like, if you
Yeah.
drop 4-8, you're done. Like, you have to win out and literally go 10-7, 9-8. Like, you have to. If you don't, we just talked about the percentages. Is like their percentages to win the division are out the window. Their percentages to make the playoffs, especially with that loaded up AFC West with the Chargers, Broncos, and Chiefs. I mean, you're slim to none if you keep dropping these games. You have to hope that Chargers, the Broncos keep dropping games, and you continue to win these games. And we saw the Steelers, look really bad in a game where I thought it favored them. Like in Thursday Night Football with our first snow game against the Browns. I mean, that was Steelers football, and I just feel like they just were non-existent. They just didn't show up to the game. So I think this could be one where we're wrong, and I maybe should have stayed with the Steelers because I've gone with them. I want to check. I pretty much went with the Steelers almost every single week besides week 1 when they play the Falcons.
Right.
But it's almost just my hopes for the Joey B. We have him MVP. He's having an MVP season. It's like he's got to win this game. Like not just him, but like the team's got to fucking help him win a game.
yeah,
Like,
I know.
they just have to, man. Like you got to figure it out. You just have to. So
Luckily enough, the Steelers are not a high-scoring team. Typically,
yes, that's
so it's
exactly
like
where.
Joe Burrow can outrun them.
Yes.
It's just a matter of can you block TJ Watt, who was kind of quiet last week? Can you block him enough to let him throw the ball? That's all. That's all. If that happens, then the Bengals should win this. I'm not saying by a lot, nothing disrespectful to Mike Tomlin, but I do think they get a home win, close up the holiday weekend.
Fancy's just hoping for one more. He's going to keep going against the Steelers. That way they go 8-9, and Fancy's prediction was right.
I know. I mean, there's still a chance. They have to start losing.
So you're telling me there's a chance? You're like
they
the Bears
have
fans.
to start losing.
That 1% is there. Like we can make
I'm
it.
like, come on, guys.
No, yeah, that was one take though that I absolutely like, a legitimate take rather than just a bias like me and Matt hoping that he wins MVP. Like the Steelers do not score a lot of points. They just don't. They beat teams by keeping them under 16 points. And I mean, they did it to the Ravens and it worked, but it's like I just don't. The Bengals are literally all offense or nothing, and I just don't think. I think the Bengals could be good enough to at least stop the Steelers' offense a couple of times. Hopefully, like I don't know. I don't know what else to tell Joey B if the Steelers put up if they turn this game to a shootout somehow, which I never see seeing. Like I never see it coming. But like the over under being 47, if the Bengals put up 24 points and lose, I just don't like. I know that's lower than he's been putting up, but like not a lot of teams will put up 24 points against.
No, it's gonna be Boswell, 5 field goals, and then
McPherson
and then maybe Pickens
been
gets
awful
in there.
kicking, which he's been awful kicking.
Yeah,
that's why I'm just like fuck. But hey, we all got the Chargers, we all got the Bengals. Now going into the games where we have some disagreements, the only two of the week, me and Matt went with the Vikings. Fancy, you went with the Cardinals. Matt, give me the rundown of what you see in this matchup, and why you went with Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm still not sold on the Cardinals. I think Cardinals are still an up and down team. You don't know who you're going to get out of them, and the Vikings have shown, that they are a legit team in the best division in the NFC right now. So, I love the matchups of having TJ Hockenson back and then Justin Jefferson as one of the top 3 receivers in the league right now. So I think that sets them apart on a team that can be kind of a 50-50 team of the Cardinals.
Yeah. I just was really disappointed in Arizona last week with what I saw against Seattle. I know that was the one that me and you dropped Fancy in one of the games. Me and you took the Cardinals.
Yeah.
And I mean, James Conner, 8 rushes, 9 yards. Kyler Murray didn't look great.
That
in Seattle.
all of that.
In Seattle is like Seattle's been like the Arizona Cardinals. They're up and they're down. They're
Same
up and they're
thing, yeah.
down. It's the same thing. So it's like for me, it was one of those where they had to do it. And last week, you saw the Vikings. I mean, they win, and they didn't even get Justin Jefferson involved.
Yeah.
Like Justin Jefferson had one or two catches. Like that was it. Like TJ Hawkinson ran his ass off after the catch all game. It was unreal to see. I mean, since he's been healthy since that first week that he came back, like after that first initial week, I mean, Matt, he's been unbelievable again. I mean, it just goes to show you how talented he is at that position. I mean, it's one of those guys who, when you talk about top 5 tight ends, he doesn't get enough talk about it because he truly is. And then Jordan Addison. I mean, he had a blow up game. So I think, if the Cardinals struggled about, with stopping, they kept DK Metcalf to like 4 catches, 60 yards, but Jackson Smith-Njigba had a great game. Yep. And I just think with Aaron Jones and TJ and Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, I just think, and even Jalen Naylor, who's been really solid this season for some fantasy owners, like as a flex, if you're in a really deep league, I just don't see the Cardinals being able to stop all of that. I think it's just a credit to the Vikings, to as much as they're spreading it out to the point where if you told me going into the season that they're going to win a game with, Justin Jefferson having like a catch in 9 yards, I'd call you delusional. So,
yeah. No, what I look at with the Cardinals, especially after last week, was that that was a poor execution of a poor game plan. That even if they would have done it right, it wouldn't have been enough. I mean, the Seahawks still only got 16 points. That's Jets, that's Patriots numbers. That's not anything as far as a NFC or a divisional title holder. And I think that's the wake up call. And I know I'm not the only one out there that thinks this, but that the Vikings might be a fraud team. And I would say the Packers might be too. It's just the Vikings have a better record, so I'm going to put them out there first. It's like I don't know if you do belong there. I don't know if you are. I mean, you're 9-2, but what does that mean really? Does that not mean you get smoked first round of the playoffs? Like, I don't know. And the same way the Seahawks can just pop up and knock someone down, or the way the Colts did, it's like the Cardinals, I don't see them winning a Super Bowl in the next 10 years. However, I do see them ruining someone else's chances of even getting there.
Yeah, we did talk about the Cardinals kind of being that home wrecker of like, they're going to beat the teams that they shouldn't beat, and they're going to lose against the teams they probably should beat. That's kind of how they've been all season long.
Yeah.
To me, it's just been impressive with what Minnesota's done against 2 good defenses in Tennessee and Chicago. Not really getting Justin Jefferson involved. I think that's a credit a lot to their defense, and I just think the Cardinals have lost a lot of games to some good defenses. So we'll see. And on top of that, which fans you didn't know this, but it is double XP this weekend. So
yeah,
I mean,
I know. I'm hoping he gets it out in the next couple days.
Thanksgiving.
I'm hoping he is already.
Yeah.
I'm hoping he's already max camo.
Prestige,
That's what happened last week.
Yeah.
And he was just tired. But I mean, ultimately, like we talked about with like Marvin Harrison Jr. and everything else, if you don't get these guys involved, Connor, Marvin Harrison Jr., and I mean, we got to see some more stuff on defense. Which I mean, 16 points. If you hold a we've talked about it 1,000 times. We repeat it every week. 16 points is enough to say like, hey, we stopped them, and you have to get up there.
Issue.
It's a 10-point. It's 10-point difference.
You got to score more than 6 for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's 10 points. The defense left it up to Kyler to handle it, and I mean, on the offensive coordinator and the head coach, and it's just what do we get?
Yeah.
It's not going to happen again. It's not going to happen back to back.
I will say probably the most shocked I've been. I mean, I'd have to look back at a couple of the slates, but I think this might be the most shocked I've ever been to be on this side of things.
The one.
I mean, I thought maybe one of you, but both of you going after this game with the Patriots.
Lions.
I'm all ears.
Lions hangover. I'm
all ears.
We got to keep.
Yeah, but we talked about it last week.
They bucked the trend last week, but
I think it's done.
I'm going right back on it.
All right, keep going.
That's
the only talking point you have on it.
That's literally all I got is as they did not look good at all. And Lions hangover, gonna just keep going.
I agree with Matt. I mean, I do think the Lions hangover is potentially something to keep in mind, but
Let me ask you
the
this:
the
Did you
Patriots
know?
that when you put football on paper, that paper footballs.
No, did you even know that the Colts played the Lions last week, and this is the Lions hangover?
Yeah, no, I watched it because I
No,
was
no, I'm
at
just saying,
first
did
I
you
was stuck
remember
with
that
like
when you were making the picks?
yeah, because it was like 6-14, and I was like, whoa, and then all of a sudden it was not, or maybe or was it 7-13 or something like that. Anyways, but no, the thing is I look at the Patriots as that same random, like we're gonna just accidentally win this, like they did to the fucking Jets, like they did to the Bears. It's like those Jets, Colts, Bears, like all those teams, the Patriots, they're all in the same bottom of the barrel teams that it's like, Jonathan Taylor or not, like the rest of the Colts suck,
Man,
I think. And
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
Patriots
That's
suck
just one of
too.
those where I was very shocked. I mean, I feel like I mean, I'm trying not to get like overly excited about it, but I'm just like I kind of appreciate like the free because I'm just like I don't know. Like I mean, I guess it's one of those where like I'm gonna eat my own words next week, but it's like I mean, there's just so much talent on the Colts, and we gotta realize two of those wins for the Patriots came really really early, and I just think if I'm the Patriots, I'm not winning any more games. I'm tanking and getting a huge wide receiver for Drake May. That's what I'm doing. I've talked to Patriots fans that I know, and that's exactly what they want. Not that the fans dictate that, but like the Colts still do have a chance at winning the AFC South. Like I just mentioned the numbers
I
with
mean,
with
yeah,
the
there's a
Texans
window
losing. Fans, I think
for
you mentioned the
sure.
Texans losing 4 out of 6. It's like
Yeah.
the Colts are firing all cylinders, and they're saying like this is your chance to show us that you're a quarterback and you're interested in. And I just think the Patriots have like they have no weapons whatsoever. I mean, Drake May does look good, but like he's thrown into some dumpster fire right now.
Yeah.
And I just think the Colts defense is just yeah. I didn't see this as even a toss up. I didn't see it even a close. I think this was just like a win for the Colts that just gets them closer to the being, at that 500 marker and hope that the Texans lose this week. But I mean, hey, I guess that'll be the matchup that I look forward to, like seeing the outcome on the most.
Yeah.
Because I could definitely see Fancy's take on the Cardinals. I mean, I am a fan of the Cardinals, and I thought they were gonna establish that Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison connection on a more open playbook, like I talked about. But yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see what happens in both of those matchups. But I really do think the Colts take that one for sure.
Mhm.
Um, in terms of let's just get the Commanders game. Just
They better win that thing.
if they don't, I don't want to hear anything about the NFC East being good. I don't want to hear the Eagles run the NFC East. The Cowboys suck. The Giants suck. The Commanders suck. Like the
Here's
Commanders have not beaten a single team over 500, and they just lost to the Cowboys with Cooper Rush.
so Titans beat the Texans beat the Cowboys beat the Redskins or the Commanders, so they it has to go full circle, right? Just it's like
I mean, I wouldn't care
it's
because
just
then
some
it just
some
clears the way for
crazy.
the Eagles to win the division even quicker. So we just lock in a better seed. That's fine for me. But like I don't even like. There's just. I mean, I don't know. Like I'm speechless because there's literally just nothing to say. It's like they should be like 9-4 or 9-3, and it's like what are we doing? Like we're just losing to teams we just. I mean, and it's like when you think about it, they realistically should probably be 6-6. They should not have beaten the Bears. There was a toss up
Yeah.
play.
Yep.
It's like.
Yeah,
I mean, let's be real. I mean, and it's like,
arrogance gave
and,
him
and,
that
and I
win.
mean, last week they should have won too. So I mean, realistically, like I said, they should be 9. I mean, it's like I don't know.
It's either
So,
+2 or -2 of their record.
yeah,
Absolutely,
I'm just
you
like
know.
all right. So that's I mean, I'm glad we all won the Commanders that we didn't have to listen to anything. But I did think like in my back of my mind, I'm like, this might be a game where Fancy actually goes with the Titans. Like I was like, this might be like a reasonable like underdog pick.
If
Um,
if at home,
yeah,
if at
that would have
home,
done it. Yeah.
if at home.
So, but the rest of the games we can actually like talk about and dive into a little bit. Besides maybe the Texans game. Texans play the Jags. We all pick the Texans. Jags
That's
suck.
not a big.
Simple as
That's
that.
not a big
Yeah, it's not a
over.
big
I
spread
mean,
take, but with
yeah.
dropping 4 out of 6, that's kind of where it lands when you are not beating teams you should beat. But Seattle and the Jets. Obviously this spread's super low, especially Seattle coming off a big win against the Cardinals and being the number one in the NFC West, the most competitive division of football at the moment. It's like -2. You know, it's like so very interesting that they're giving the Jets. I think it might be a hot take. I think the Jets now are more in shambles than they have been in the beginning of the season. Like I think this week, like Aaron Rodgers is in talks of not coming back. Like where's that put
Right.
Devontae Adams, the Breece Hall negotiations, the GM being fired, the owner wanting this and that, and then now they're looking at already replacing the coach that is coaching for them now. It's like there's nothing right. There's nothing right with the Jets. Like
Rex Ryan seems to want that job really bad. I don't know if you guys
and you
have
know
been
who
seeing
else is
those
in talks with
clips.
it, which is funny because this is the matchup. Pete Carroll.
Really?
Yeah, Pete Carroll's in talks with going to the Jets, which I just think it'd be disrespectful for his career because I think he had a great, respectable career with Seattle, and I think you just be getting a paycheck at that point because you're going into something just probably non-fixable. So,
That's what
um,
Rodgers did to the Jets.
Aaron
Same
Rodgers,
thing. Ruined his career
I
for
like.
money.
I can go into a whole thing. I don't even want to bring it up right now because I'm going to get fancy going. But I like the Aaron Rodgers to me. Man. I mean, legacy wise, he lost a lot of points for me in terms of what he did to that organization. I mean, he completely ruined everything they had going. I mean, he
Which
got
they
the
didn't.
coach
They
fired. He got the GM fired.
without going
Adams
off
there.
it without going off on a deep end. He didn't ruin the Jets. The Jets have not been shit
I
for a
know, but
long
he
time.
set them
They
back.
might have had a better
long,
season
yeah.
with Zach Wilson last year, but it's like it still wasn't good. It still wasn't something to
It's
like
just the way he
move
goes
and
about
build
it. I
around.
feel like if it
No,
was
you're
any
right.
other
His
quarterback,
attitude
it's
is
like
terrible.
he
I'm
has
not saying
been.
his attitude, but it's
Yeah.
like ruining the Jets. It's like the Jets have been ruined. I
Yeah.
mean, Adam Sandler makes a joke about it in almost every one of his movies.
Yeah.
To me, though, like you had some young pieces that you really were hoping. Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson,
yeah.
Breece Hall. You really wanted them to get those pieces to have some productivity, but then
But I mean, now to say though, like he wants to go play somewhere else. It's like as an owner of a team, why would you touch him? Like he wants full control of everything going on. Like
no,
he wants
you have to do the full Brett Favre 2.0
go to the Vikings.
and go to the Vikings and give it a run.
Ugh.
That was a good run
You
the
can't
Vikings
because
had,
I have
though.
Sam
The
Darnold and
closest they
JJ
made it.
McCarthy. I have Sam Darnold and JJ McCarthy in a dynasty league, so I can't. Yeah, it can't happen. Like
The thing is that like you talk about this young talent that's at the Jets that's getting wasted. It's like there's talent at the Bears that has been wasted year after year. Some say, depending on the coach that you get when you first get drafted to the league, puts the cap on how high you can fly. And it's like immediately.
the Bears. I mean, the Bears are more talented this year than they ever have been. But the Jets right now are like, I mean, you put those guys on any team, like, and they're
right. That's what I'm saying. But it's like it's not just on Rodgers that they're not good. It's like
no, I know, but I'm saying
out of that
they
organization
should not have had a worse
completely.
record with him there. Like,
but it's the whole organization is the poison. It's like when I say like, what's a draft pick going to do for this team? That's what I mean. It's like there's more than one leak in the boat.
Yeah,
and that's my point. Is like I mean, there is blame that falls on Rodgers, and he's not helping out the situation whatsoever, no matter who he brings in. Which I think goes to show that it's more than just that.
Yeah.
Not saying, oh, it's Rodgers, because look, he's bringing all these peoples and it's not helping. It's like fuck, man. Like where do you start? You know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
On the other side of things, I mean, Rams Saints probably the only like matchup that it's a big one for the Saints because they aren't completely out of it, but the Rams really need this after letting up 302 yards by Saquon Barkley. So hopefully Kamara doesn't go for his 18 touchdown game that he usually has once a season. Because that would be really demoralizing.
I thought he already had like a 4 touchdown.
No, he probably did, but sometimes he goes for a couple of them, and it's like holy shit, because he's been kind of quiet. So and he comes off a bye week, so he's all ready to go. But yeah, we all took the Rams. Obviously, if you're a betting man, I definitely would take Seattle -2 money line. But the Rams game definitely could feel like a trap game, especially the Saints coming off of a couple wins, and the offense looking a lot better than they have been since the old Matt's favorite head coach got released. But just another one of those matchups where I mean, there's no reason to go against against the books in that one. So we all got the Rams in that one, and then the last slate to go over some of the later afternoon games and the Sunday Night Football and the Monday Night Football games. probably only maybe one of these matchups to talk about. Obviously, Tampa over Carolina. That's easy peasy work for Baker Mayfield. That's just another game to get them back on track. On top of beating the Giants last week, just two games to right the ship, especially after bye. Get the guys healthy. Mike Evans is back. So shout out to Baker and doing the Tommy DeVito Gabagoo celebration. Broncos versus the Browns. I know the Browns came off of that impressive win against the Steelers on Thursday Night Football, but the Broncos are they're not going to lose a game at home at this stage in the game. Bo Nix, shout out to Bo Nix. He's looked unbelievable this season. I really do think that if he keeps it up, he will be the Rookie of the Year. I really do. I really do believe in that. Which obviously we all took Marvin Harrison, so that's not really going to look out well for us. But
hey, but my defensive rookie is still looking good. Jared Verse.
Jared Verse, yeah, absolutely.
As a front runner there.
I'll save the Eagles game for last because I did want to go in the Bills 49ers game. I do think the Bills win this game. Obviously, you guys do as well. Last year, if you look at this game, you'd be crazy if it was -6.5 and then -310. It's like that's crazy disrespect for the 49ers. I don't really know if Brock Purdy's going to be back and healthy for this matchup. But it would be kind of funny to see. I don't know if you guys saw, but their backup Allen used to be the backup for Josh Allen, and they both wear the same number. So it'd be Allen versus Allen, number 17s. So it'd be two quarterbacks, same last name, same number. Which might be the first time in NFL history I saw on Twitter, which would kind of be cool, I guess.
Is that a number gami?
Yeah, a number gami. But so, yeah, we also have the Bills and then the Eagles-Ravens game. I did expect to see one of you guys go against it just because the Ravens were favorited. But I do appreciate you guys obviously rallying up with me. This is probably one of the bigger games for the Eagles.
Why is that not the night game?
I feel like, I don't know.
That's some bullcrap.
Going into this season, I bet you they really thought the 49ers would be the 49ers. So
you can flex that.
You could definitely flex it. Also, there is a flex for week 5. Maybe it's next week. It might be next week, Thursday.
I saw a few,
the Broncos got flexed into a Thursday night instead of someone else against, I think, the Chargers or something like that. So will be interesting to see. But for me, this will be a big test for the Eagles. This is kind of around the same time of year where we kind of just things started to really just dive down and get really depressing. We obviously still made playoffs, but it was just depressing because we were so good, and then it kind of just everything just took a turn. We lost Brandon Graham, torn tricep, so he's out for the year. Probably played his last snap as an Eagle, which really sucks to go out that way because he'll probably retire after this year. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch Barkley and Henry go at it. I think
exactly.
This might be one of those. It's like, when's the last time we saw like a running back duel? You know what I mean? Like kind of one of those just like 100-yard, like back and forth. They're just giving them the rock and going with it. I'm hoping Devontae Smith is healthy. He was a scratch last week with a hammy. Obviously, it didn't matter. But that wide receiver 2 is definitely not clear with the Eagles when he is out. So I'm just hoping. Obviously, I'm never going to go against my Eagles here. So I guess I would like to hear what you guys have to say. But for me, Eagles offense finally rolling really, really well. Even with Barkley having an average game, AJ Brown looking great, Hurts looking better, defense is looking unbelievable again. Shout out to Vic Fangio. So that's just me rambling about my Eagles. So
yep,
go ahead, Matt.
I love your take on basically the running back duel that
I hope it turns out that way, man.
Right? That would be so cool to see that. But
and Hurts and Lamar, it's like we can see we could probably see 400 rushing yards in this game.
Yeah. And then, so I think what sets it apart for me, is then you've got AJ Brown over the top. So, the problem is you get the run game going and then you start to sell out a little bit.
That's what they do. And they throw it over the top.
And then with how bad the Ravens pass defense has been, I think that's really going to be the deciding factor is AJ Brown. He's going to hit that 65-yard, touchdown.
And like I said, if Smitty's healthy, that's a huge advantage to us because
True.
I mean, you have to watch the AJ Brown deep ball, but Devontae Smith has been great this year, and it might be a hot take, but I know Zay Flowers' numbers is up there because he's not the Eagles' number 1. I'll get to it. I know I just worded that differently, but if Devontae Smith was a number 1, you would see Zay Flowers numbers for Devontae Smith this season. So obviously Zay Flowers being a number 1, his numbers are going to look better than Devontae Smith, but I still, being unbiased as possible, I know I'm wearing the hat, I know I'm an Eagles fan, but I really do think Devontae Smith is a better wide receiver than Zay Flowers. So if he's healthy, we have two better wide receivers, a running back that can go head to head with Henry, and then Hurts and Lamar. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd take Lamar obviously as an MVP runner. But you
Yeah,
know, I think it's going to be, if the Ravens had their defense that they typically do, this would be a very interesting game in terms of just how the battle was going to play out. But I
Right.
think the Eagles will play to their strong suit of just wearing down that defense with Barkley, and then once it's ready to go, you're going to see a real big deep shot for AJ Brown or Devontae Smith for like a 50, 60 yarder, like, and it's going to be a
Yep.
huge play in the game.
See, I picked the Eagles on this because I think the Ravens without Henry are worse off than the Eagles without Saquon, and that Jalen Hurts, as far as throwing and accuracy, I'm much more afraid of him than I am, because we watched it earlier this year. Lamar Jackson missed Saquon for the win. I mean, not Saquon, Zay Flowers for the win in the back of the
Yeah,
end zone.
on the opening
Just
end, yeah,
wide
he
open
threw it
misses,
away
and
from him. Yeah.
it's like, I mean,
That's
and I'm
crazy
like,
that you say. I mean,
that's
I'd love to hear that, but a lot of people think that Jalen Hurts is a terrible passer. Like, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying it
No,
is nice. It is nice to get that reassurance of like people do see him
I
as a
think
passer. 'Cause he's,
Roethlisberger even said it,
dude, I
that
mean,
he was like,
he's really, yeah,
the
he's
only
really been
threat that
better.
Lamar Jackson really poses is his legs, because he does not thread him in there.
Yeah. And a fun fact, like what I was pumped about when the Eagles drafted Jalen Hurts actually at the time set a college football record for the most accurate pass, like the highest completion percentage in college football. So like
Yeah.
he's got it. I don't know. I
I
mean,
think that was after he left Alabama too, and went to
Oklahoma?
Oklahoma, who beat Alabama this weekend. Shout out,
Oh.
you know. Fucking-
Honestly, I was expecting a whole Oklahoma jumpsuit this time, so I was kind of disappointed.
it's
But
at the cleaners.
you had to wear it and go in the grocery store, like Fancy had his
It
own
was a big deal.
celebration to do.
Oh yeah, it was a big deal. But no, I really think that the Eagles. I think this is a really great matchup. But that's why, if I'm going to give anybody on the Ravens even MVP talks, it's got to be Derrick Henry, because minus Derrick Henry,
Well, that's the thing. I think it's gonna be a crazy matchup because they were literally talking about like Barkley MVP. So like you can literally debate Barkley MVP and Derrick Henry MVP, and it's like imagine the conversation with it, Matt. With you, you love the stat of like if Barkley didn't get stopped at the 1 yard line as much as he does, and then they push Jalen in because like you're talking about what I think we said 8 or 9 or maybe 10 rushing touchdowns
So
taken away from him.
I think it was 9 attempts, but so it's 8
266.
touchdowns.
So
though.
add
Right.
8 touchdowns to his already amazing resume. It's like,
Yeah.
that's how do you deny an MVP? Like we actually, I know we started about CMC last year, but we might see it, our first running back MVP since AP in a long time. So,
Yeah.
but with that, we do have to get into our DK segments. We do have a new winner besides me finally. Mr. Fancy coming away with it, tying us even at 5-5 on the season. Matt, you coming in second place, finally had some numbers above the 100 marker with not going with the double tight end sets.
I know.
but
we both had Lad McConkey for that
Yeah.
Monday night game, so
I
I
didn't
was
check it.
screwed. I was
Once I
screwed
saw
there.
it, I knew that we had the same guy. I was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Absolutely. And Matt was telling me he had Zach Ertz in his lineup, but he took him out, which if you had Zach Ertz in there, he would have actually won it. But for me,
You know?
Zach Ertz did great. AJ Brown did great. Cardinals defense did great.
They did do
top
good.
top defense on the week between us. But my strategies just didn't work out. Even with Tommy DeVito at 11, like that was fine for me. That's all I needed. Brian Robinson got hurt on like in the first quarter and left the game, never played again. But like
Right.
Neighbors and
Yeah.
Hill, they just killed me. And then Quinton Johnson, like I talked about earlier, you couldn't catch a cold. But Fancy, you coming in with the second highest quarterback. I loved Bo Nix's performance once again. You doubled up with Sutton, which we talked about. It was a great matchup for Sutton. And then DJ Moore having kind of an unexpected great game with the Bears. And then obviously you had Zach Ertz with me as well.
I brought it up that Moore had, if the Bears have a chance of winning, it's
Yeah.
gonna, like, Moore will have
You have
points,
to, yeah,
and then
had to
they
get
went to overtime.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's plain and simple.
Yep, absolutely. You nailed it. And then Matt, your double head there of Gibbs and Irving really panned out. Not even that Montgomery didn't. I mean, Montgomery 16.3. That's kind of what we see a lot with that Lions offense. But the highest scoring quarterback out of all three of us with Baker at 19.66. We were both let down by Malik Neighbors. But obviously you and Fancy with McConkey really panned out well. And then you kind of just got ice cold in that in the 2 spots after that. But you know,
what
not
what I
a bad
don't
week though. I mean, when you see all 3 of us above 100, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
we're trending in the right direction. I want to see all 3 of us above 150. That is my goal this season.
I just don't understand how my defense led up the least amount of points and I got the least amount of points.
Well, sacks,
Is that what it is? I
turnovers,
was like,
yeah.
I don't know the scoring for the
Yeah.
defense. I'm like, holy shit!
That's
I
why
got
that
7
5+
points.
sacks for the Lions. I'm like, man, they don't have Aiden Hutchinson anymore. Like, it's like,
Oh yeah, that's right.
so
He's dead.
you get a lot of points for sacks. You get a lot of points. Like for the Cardinals, they lost, but they had a lot of sacks. They had a couple turnovers,
Yeah.
I think. So it's like it ended up bringing
and that's
pretty
one of
lights
those
out.
games I didn't get
And
to watch.
Matt's led up 34 points and still had 9. So it's like
That's I'm like,
it's
how
all
the
about it's all about the sacks. I mean, you'd have to click on it and actually see what the points are coming from. But if I had to guess, that's what it is. Every point system is different. But
yeah, I'll
um,
click on it next time.
and then
That's
going into
crazy.
this week, but just a note real quick though. I mean, me and Fancy are tied at 5-5. So like now is the time for Matt to really up it up here and go on like a 3-peat win and just make it dead flat 5s across the board. All right, Matt.
I'll do my best.
But of course, he goes back with a double tight end after he literally just put up the most points he has in 5 weeks. No, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
Listen, if I'm going to do
I
it,
did call
it's
last week that you were going to do it with Taysom Hill.
Taysom Hill.
And
So that's
I'll
my
give
wild card.
Yeah, I'll give you my take on that when you run through it. But
Okay.
for me, I talked about earlier, Justin Herbert and Will Disley. Those two are really building a connection here against Atlanta defense that has struggled against the pass game. So I do think Herbert is favorable in this matchup. I like the price range. I did eye Baker. I do in these. I always try to stay away from it just because. Which I mean, it's proves us wrong, Matt. Me and you talk about with Jared Goff against the Jacksonville Jaguars, where sometimes when they get up, you're going to see Rashad White and Bucky Irving really go full force with the points and the yards and whatever else. So I just not saying that Baker's not going to have a good game because I think he absolutely will, but I just tend to always stay away from those where I think I try to find a good quarterback against a weaker defense that the game is still going to be up in the air and they're going to keep throwing the football.
You went for the shootout instead of the it could be lopsided.
50-50. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. But with that, speaking of the Tampa Bay Carolina game, I went with Hubbard. Love his matchup. Karen Williams, love his matchup. And then at the flex, I even put Jonathan Taylor. I love his matchup as well. All these guys, I mean, together they're averaging 50 points a game, just in fantasy points. So I love the matchups that they're going up against this week. I was able to buy in big on those running backs with Herbert being cheaper and the Jets defense being 2,500. And then my wide receivers, I couldn't believe that Mike Evans was as cheap as he is. I can't believe you guys didn't even bubble him up with having Baker. After I saw you guys both went Baker, I thought you guys would have Mike Evans on your guys' team. But I love Adam Thielen. Now that he's back, he had a great game last week. I mean, I don't know if you saw Matt, but he looked great. That's part of why the Panthers really kept up with the Chiefs last week. And then Brian Thomas. I mean, coming off of the bye, I mean, he's been great all year. We've taken him pretty much one of us almost every single week. So I like this lineup. I like last lineups, but obviously Tommy DeVito and the big name wide receivers just kind of let me down.
Yeah, when you can have JT in your flex, like that's a good lineup. You've got 3, killer running backs. So
that are going to probably. I mean, they all have ability to score 2 touchdowns this week apiece. So it's like I really like it. So
yeah, they're definitely all expected double digits. Like that's a good sign. I mean, most of your team is, but it's just it's like that's when you can get all 3 of them to do that. I mean, I went Mayfield. I mean, I think something this weekend, just watching OU and watching him play and everything else, it's like their team's getting better. They're not all the way out. Like it's crunch time. They have to perform. And whether or not they win or lose, I know if there's anybody in the league that's going to go out and give every single thing that they have every single Sunday, it is him. And this is against a team that even if they give everything they have, it's only pennies. So it's like, there's nothing stopping it. And Bucky Irving, I mean, I'm going to keep my eye on him from now on. I mean, like for seasons, I think barring injury, I'm like, this guy's exciting. This guy gets me excited to watch. And Pollard, I mean, almost like a slap in the face to the Cowboys. I'm just like, this dude, they didn't want. He puts up points, and it's against Washington, who kind of, they lost to the Cowboys. Used to be a Cowboy. He's gonna know. I wouldn't be surprised if he sees something in their defense that he's like, oh, that's why they did it.
Yeah.
That's why exactly. Tank Dell. I mean, if Houston's going to get back on track, they've got to give him the ball. They're going to score. Leggett, I heard his name in the KC game. I was getting ready for work. I think just like you like Hubbard, I want to say besides Thielen, like that's their younger WR1. You know,
Yeah, he's a rookie.
right? I mean, I'm excited to see them get a chance. Sutton, we've talked about him. I had him. I think I
Yeah, you
I
got
had
him
him
last
last
week,
week.
Bojix.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
last 2 weeks maybe. Yeah, and he's been
yeah.
popping off recently.
He just like it's just easy money. I like Taysom Hill because, like you say, he's a wild card, so he's going to get points in more ways than in one. But I'm going to put him at my tight end spot because I want to leave my flex for some various people. And I think Ramondre Stevenson. I mean, yeah, he went to school at Oklahoma, so he can run the ball. And it's against Indy, who is iffy. They might show up, they might not. And then I went with the Rams defense against New Orleans because, I mean, as much as everybody loves Derek Carr, he's Derek Carr, Derek Cousins, Kirk Carr. They're all the same.
Derek Prescott.
Derek Prescott. Yes. So I think the Rams have a chance.
That car.
Ronnie.
It's always interesting because if you look at our matchups, we got all the green matchups essentially, against the opposing ranks. We did that again this week. So it looked like so. That's kind of how I strategize with mine. Is what matchups do I like? So I, kind of what like we were debating before. I attacked that Baker Mayfield. To me, you're talking about Bucky. To me, Bucky's kind of like last year's Devon Achane. Like even though they have this great, a running back who's putting up these numbers, you also have this now.
They just can't ignore him. Like it's like he's just every time he goes in there, he's just explosive. It's like
you've got this young guy,
like,
that has that potential to break one off each time. So that's that's why I love Bucky here. Now Gus,
you're just getting sneaky on us here. You're hoping for JK out here.
So Gus is my kind of like it could be bad, it could be good. If JK can't go, then this is a steal at 4,300. But if JK's in, I'm gonna look stupid here, and I might get a zero like.
You might still get an end zone touchdown, or if he comes in late or whatever,
True. So I spent my big money on we talked about before that matchup where I see that being a running back battle, and then you're gonna see that 65-yard touchdown. And if not, he's always he's gonna be put up 6 for 80 anyways, right? So he'll be able to get something if he doesn't break off 125. So kind of like you attacked Herbert in that matchup, I'm going on the other side of the ball. Drake London, we need to see something again out of him. That means Kirk Cousins has to come alive again instead of just Bijan running the shit out of the ball. So sticking with Ladd McConkey, he's been pretty consistent. So hoping to get a nice 10 plus out of him. I kind of switched it up. So here's my argument for double tight end here. Hunter Henry's been putting together, a pretty.
He's like
good
a
year.
Zach Ertz. Me and Fancy. It's like if you want 10 points.
Yep.
There he is. You know what I mean? Like that's,
yeah. So it's that's that consistency. I'm hoping we see again out of this year. So here's my argument for Taysom Hill. He's a Swiss Army knife. He could be quarterback. He could be running back. He could be tight end. He could be wide receiver.
Punt returner.
Maybe punt returner. Maybe they'll throw him in on defense. He'll get a sack too. I don't know if that counts.
Imagine a fumble recovery touchdown.
So to me, it's kind of a cheat code at the flex spot because he is the ultimate flex. Like he can play anything. So, I don't know. I'm hoping, he's one of those guys that you could sneakily get, 30 points out of him because he does all those different parts of the game. So that one's high upside. Is kind of what it comes out to. And it's at a cheap price of $5,000 for basically getting a running back, tight end, wide receiver, quarterback. I think that's the right play. And then not much money left, but I still went with, dumpster fire of Jets, is who their Seahawks are playing. So I think they could.
Yeah, I think the Seahawks Jets game is going to be. I like both those defense sides. The Jets side of it because it was cheaper, but I think we saw the Seahawks Cardinals. It's like the Jets have a better defense than the Cardinals, so we might see another sub 20-point game again.
Yep.
But for me, the Taysom Hill thing that I want to point out was if you look at his career, every year he has that one big blow up game. He had it. So now all of his prices go up. If you got him 2 weeks ago, he was 3,400. So now that he blew up, his price goes up, and it's like he's not going to have that huge big game. I mean, I hope he does, because I love watching the highlights. I think he's a really fun player to watch. People don't know he's like 34 years old, and he's just like going headfirst into shit like he's rookie, you know. So like that was my take on it. I did see him there, and it was just one of those things where, you know, Matt, like you spend $5K on him, but less than $5K on a tight end, less than $5K on a running back. It's like I'd rather go with a guy that, you know, like has that like foundation of like he's going to give me 10-15 a week rather than like it's the upside's there for sure. I just think like the last time he played, he had that big game. So the next game right after that, his like statistically through his career, he doesn't have like double-digit games back to back. That's why
and when I got to that point, you know, but you know, if you look in that bracket, it really is slim pickings of those RB2s and, you know, those wide receiver 3s, you know, kind of in with when you have that much money left, what's there. So that's why to me, he had the most upside at that kind of bracket of in those high 4,000s, you know, to low.
That makes sense for sure.
What's crazy is with Taysom Hill is a perfect example of like, we were this close to having that out of Tim Tebow.
Yeah.
If he would have taken it, like the Patriots offered him, hey, we want you a tight end. And it's like, dude, like you're not out of football.
Oh, he tried it. He just couldn't catch a football. Like,
I mean,
that's what it came down to.
Yeah, he couldn't catch a football and just didn't want to do it anymore. So
he gave up instead of, you know, you gotta, you know, of course, you gotta work on it.
It would have been a fun thing to see, like Bill and
instead of holding on to a football, he decided to throw bats into fucking stadiums.
Yeah, absolutely. That is true. This week we always do our podcast parlay. This week we have 2 for you guys, a little Thanksgiving special. We just want to show that we are grateful for you guys, so we want to give you some extra Christmas monies going into the Christmas season after Thursday, because Christmas is this Friday, isn't it, Fancy?
Yeah. Happy birthday.
If you guys don't know the inside joke, Fancy is notorious for telling me happy birthday 16 times before it's my actual birthday, and then does not text me on my actual birthday to tell me happy birthday. So you're all caught up now. But Thanksgiving parlay, we wanted to give you guys a little fun thing to do. If you don't want to tail it, awesome. If you don't, no worries. We have another one for you for the regular slate, but we wanted to pick one pick per game. So Matt, you start us off with Jonnu Smith, over 40 receiving yards. We talked about how explosive he can be with the Miami Dolphins, and Tua seems to have a really good connection with him, especially when defenses are worried about Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle running down the field for 3,000 yards on them. I took the Dallas Cowboys money line. I don't think there's any way that the Giants can end up winning this game. I hope they do. I hope it's a jinx. But for your guys' sake, for your money, I hope the Cowboys get it done, especially with Jerry wanting to win every single game for whatever reason that may be. And then Fancy went Montgomery. Literally, I think he made history the other day of like, it was some crazy stat, Matt. Maybe you know it off the top of your head, but it was something like the last 26 games he's played the full game in, he scored a touchdown in. It was something crazy. Like he's on an unbelievable run. Talk about a guy that the Bears definitely regret letting go. So I think he just reminds them a little bit more, even though he's got that sore shoulder, Matt. I think, going into Thanksgiving, on Thanksgiving Day, playing the team that let you go, I think it's like, hey, give me a little shot on the shoulder and let me just get one touchdown and I'll let Gibbs do the rest,
Yeah.
So.
And I want to see Sonic and Knuckles sitting there at the turducken, both being those MVP
you want
guys.
You want to see Sonic and Knuckles pound the Bears?
There we go.
All right. And then our other parlay, that one, just to give you guys an example, if you guys are listening, it's $25 to win 100 plus 302. So that is the higher odd one. We wanted the saver one. We wanted to do this last week, but with it only being 13 games, it was such a tough slate to do it on, especially because most of those games were such a just a blowout prediction, like a minus 300, minus 250, minus 400. Like there was no good games that were kind of toss-ups. So with this one, we stay with the money line. We just want to get on the board because it's been a few weeks since we hit. So Fancy, you went with the Buccaneers. I went with the Texans, and then Matt, you went with the Rams. $25 to basically win 85 or 84, 50 cents at plus 237. So those are our parlays. You guys can let us know down in the comments if you guys are tailing us on those. And before we get done here, we have one more thing, and it's trivia with Matt. So we'll catch you guys over there.
Good luck.
Oh, I didn't take off the.
It's all right.
That was your trivia. Is what's the podcast parlay?
Yep. Can you
Yeah,
remember it?
Can you read that?
All right. Turkey Day trivia. Who has the most losses? No. We did that last year. So, now that I think about it, maybe you're not going to you're not going to remember this, but so we'll try to think about it. But for Thanksgiving Day trivia, can you name the coldest Turkey Day game? And the reason, I always like to think about something we've talked about. I didn't end up getting into it, but we do have an outdoor game. That Thursday night game this week is Miami at Green Bay. Supposed to be cold, potentially snow. So that made me think. So that made me think about, are we potentially gonna beat that record or not? So maybe not. The way I worded it, can you name that game? You might not remember a snow game for Thanksgiving Day.
Do you remember it, Matt?
I did.
No, I'm serious because I remember one. I was little. Okay.
Yeah, it was. It's a while ago, but
okay.
So maybe can you give me the temperature of the coldest game? Unless you can remember
coldest, like Thanksgiving.
I was thinking it was a Lions game, Thanksgiving, like 2001. Is what was coming to mind that I remember watching specifically.
Who were they playing?
TV. That's what I'm having a hard time with because
they'd have to be away because
that's the problem. We would have been in the Silverdome.
Yeah, I was thinking like a Packers game, like a Packers Cowboys or something like that. Like something.
I'm trying to remember. Like I said, that was 2001. So
so
talk about like last Thursday night football game was literally the snow blizzard. It's like you couldn't just wait a week. Imagine like just sitting down, like food coma, and you just go on there and you could barely even see your screen. It's like pixelated. You think it'd go to the antenna and like adjust it. You know what I mean? Like,
you think it's static and you're like, oh no, it's just snowy.
Yeah, it's just snowing. Like
I remember Megatron with the face mask full of snow.
Yep.
I was actually fun fact. I was actually at a Lions Bears game when it snowed in Chicago, and I got to see. That was when you guys had Golden Tate, and you guys had a walk-off touchdown. I was in the end zone that you guys had it. And it was to Golden Tate. It was great. So what I'm guessing?
I missed Golden Tate. So 93 is the year.
Oh God.
Fancy was like born then.
I was all right. Yeah, I was been born. I was shitting in the toilet by then.
All right. Outside. So do you guys want to do temperature, coldest temperature then for that game?
16 degrees.
So that was
Fahrenheit.
That was Miami. So again, it's lining up. Miami against Green Bay, right? So we got Miami versus the Cowboys. Was an outdoor snow game. 93.
Wow.
What did the temperature drop down to?
Oh well, fucking North Texas.
28
snow
degrees.
Game.
Snow happens in the 30s, so I want to say like
degrees.
Jake's got 28 locked in.
I was literally about to say 27. Then he said 28. It seems really close.
All right, 27, 28.
Yeah.
23 is what it dropped down to.
Wow.
Damn.
So it's set to be pretty darn close.
What is Green Bay's projected? Like, it's Tuesday, so Thursday it should pop up like a pretty accurate.
Yeah. No, we'll
so we've
I'll give you an update right quick.
Do you have it?
Yeah. Sunday, high of 29, low of 22, partly cloudy. Oops,
we might get
Hold on,
little...
that's Sunday, not Thursday.
Okay.
Let me go back Thursday. Yeah, Thursday, high of 30, low of 23, some clouds, winds out of the northwest, 10 to 15 miles an hour. Chance of flurries at night. It doesn't say exactly what time.
Yeah, but night game. We might
hit it.
Maybe.
We might hit that 23.
And that just goes to the point that we talked about earlier with the pick. Like, hammer the Packers because Tua does not do good in the cold, and it's going to be cold, and it might snow, and I don't know if Tua knows what snow is.
No, when it's in the 60s, he's sitting there with the full.
He's got the beanie. He's got his hands in the little waist warmer.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It was ridiculous. I was like, what is this guy doing? Like, what are we?
And Mike McDaniel's like walking outside and like sweat down his forehead. I'm like,
yeah, exactly.
I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude.
But obviously we are uploading this a day early. So if you guys are tuning into this before Thanksgiving, we appreciate you guys and do want to wish you guys a happy Thanksgiving. Stay safe with those fried turkeys and
don't do them in your garage, you freaking jackass.
Okay.
You burn your house down.
That felt targeted at a certain individual, didn't it, Matt? Like, it wasn't jackasses, it was jackass. So there's one of you guys out there that's a jackass, just so you guys all know.
Somebody was about to lower it in there and
Yeah.
stop.
Yeah,
and
they're
that's
like,
the
wait,
point.
Fancy's got a point. Let's put this in the garage.
Hold on, honey. Just to wait. I want to finish this right quick, and then we'll do it.
Exactly.
PSA.
So
Yeah.
make sure you guys are following us on our socials. That's all I got for you guys. Have a great weekend. Hopefully there's a great football Thursday, Friday, or Sunday, Monday. So football on 4 out of the next 5 days. So enjoy it, and we will catch you guys again next week. See you guys.
See ya.